Assalamu alaikum my friends, how are you today? Welcome back to Play and Learn Arabic with Koko. Today we have reached a very far distance in our Tajweed and in reading the Quran in general. And by now you should be able to read the Quran easily, except for a couple of rules left, but by now you can read any word in the Quran and any ayah easily. We have touched on most of the basic stuff, but yet essential. Today we will have, as I promised you, simple rules to give you a chance to digest the math rules, which are very long and hard, but I don't want you to confuse them. So I'm going to teach you today a simple rule that's going to fit in, and by the next time we're going to start touching on a little bit harder, complicated stuff. I will try to simplify things as much as I can. Sometimes it is very hard to simplify a rule because there is no other way of saying it than saying it that way. But I try my best not to include any details that is not necessary or not frequent in the Quran. So you can grab the basics, and once you grab the basics and become fluent in reading, you can add gradually in the advanced Tajweed. And you are still young and you have a long life in front of you to build on that. Perfect your reading first, and then everything will fall in place when the time comes. So today we're going to learn about two simple things. I will talk to you about them when we go to the classroom, and continue your practicing as I told you, and don't stop. Okay? So let's go now to the classroom and see Koko what's up to today. Okay? Let's go, my friends. Follow me. Assalamu alaikum, Koko. How are you today? I know we have reached lesson 15 in step 3. Of course. And you're getting a pro. That's very good, Koko. It's almost time to go home. Okay? Today, my friends, I will start by reminding you about our first lessons when we were learning the alphabet. You remember when I was telling you the letters, this is letter of isti'la and this is letter of istifal. It is a fat or a thin letter, remember? And by the end of step 1 we learned all about them. And remember that we put them in a sentence or acronym, and we call this, we named it Khossa Dawtin Pil. So the letter of Tafkhim or letter of Isti'la, the scholar of Tajweed, they put them in an acronym like this so people can remember. Khossa, Kha on Sad, Dagtin, Dad, Wain on Ta, Qil, Qaf and Za. So these are the letter of Isti'la, letter of Tafkhim. These are the letters that your mouth or your tongue will go up, raise up when you pronounce them. They come out fat. Okay, your mouth will go up. I mean your tongue will raise up. Okay, why I am mentioning this? Remember, I told you the rest of the alphabet are letter of istifal, letter of tarqiq. That is, istifal means your tongue will go down or move down when we are saying these letters, and actually our mouth form a small smile when we pronounce them. And we have left like two exceptions, letter Lam and Ra. Letter Lam and letter Ra, these two letters, sometimes we pronounce them with tarqiq, and sometimes we pronounce them with tafkhim. Sometimes we pronounce them in a fat way, and sometimes we pronounce them in a thin, soft way. I will start with the letter Lam, because since it is easy, and we can finish from it very fast. Letter Lam only when it comes in the name of Allah. Okay? Sometimes it's pronounced fat, and sometimes it's pronounced thin. So here I have letter Lam, and I want to write a word, or let's write Bismillah. Bismillah. Before the Lam in Allah's name, we find there it's preceded by a kasra. So whenever the Lam or the name of Allah in a like an ayah or in a sentence is preceded by a word that ends up with a kasra, or whenever it's preceded by a kasra, it is pronounced softly with istifal, with tarqiq. Bismillah. We don't say Bismillah. No. We say Bismillah. Bismillah. Other example. A letter Ba. Kasra before it. Bi. Billah. Billah. And so on. If a Dhamma or a Fatha preceded Allah's name, then the Lam is pronounced with tafkhim. For example, Inna Allah. Okay? Inna Allah. Inna Allah. So Allah, my tongue went up to the roof. Inna Allah. And Abdullah. Abdullah. So the Lam in Allah's name preceded by a Fatha or a Dhamma, you pronounce Allah's name with tafkhim. Allah. Inna Allah. Abdullah. Preceded by a Kasra, it becomes soft or pronounced with istifal. Bismillah. Billah. And so on. So the Lam rule is very easy. This will bring us to the second rule for the Ra. As we said earlier, the letter Ra can be pronounced with tarqiq, softly, or with tafkhim in a fat way. I can say Ri, or I can say Ra and Ru. And when I was teaching you the alphabet, I remember like sometimes I used to mention this to you when we're reading a word, we're connecting step 2. When we read a word, I used to pronounce it with Fatha or Dhamma, with tafkhim. And when it comes to a kasra, I used to pronounce it with tarqiq, and I used to tell you, you will know why when you go to the advanced Tajweed. And now you are there. So let us touch on the rule Ra. Rules Ra, they are divided into categories. Some are simple and easy, no exceptions, and some they have exceptions. The exceptions are not too many, and if you can't remember them, it's okay. It's okay for now. But I'm going to throw it in just in case some people may benefit. Okay? Whenever you find, I'm going to put here a line. You have a letter Ra. Letter Ra has a fatha or a dhamma. It's always pronounced with tafkhim. You say Ra, ar-rajul, Ra, rajul, Ra, Ru, Ru. Okay? And so this go with tafkhim. So whenever the Ra has a fatha or a dhamma, it is pronounced with tafkhim or in a fat way. Whenever the Ra has a kasra, whenever the Ra has a kasra, you pronounce it with what? Tarqiq. Okay? Ri, 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 ta, riq, ta, riq, and so on. What if the Ra has a sukoon? How do you pronounce it? The third situation is if a Ra has a sukoon. If a Ra has a sukoon, I'm going to look at the letter before the Ra and I look what that letter has. If that letter has, before the Ra has a kasra, this Ra is pronounced with tarqiq, soft. It's going to be bir, ir, mir, and so on. If the letter Ra again has a sukoon, and the letter before it also has a sukoon, so what do? I look at the letter before the letter that has a sukoon, and if it has a kasra, I will pronounce the Ra with tarqiq, softly. Okay? So the rules here is very easy. If a Ra has a kasra, it's pronounced by tarqiq in a soft way. If a Ra has a sukoon, how I pronounce it? I look at the letter before it. If it has a kasra, I will pronounce it with tarqiq. But if the Ra has a sukoon and the letter before it also has a sukoon, I look at the letter before the Ra. If it has a kasra, it will be pronounced with tarqiq. Okay? So all these are tarqiq, tarqiq. Except for tafkhim, fatha or dhamma all the time. Okay, let's come now to the exceptions. Okay. about the first exception when it is supposed to be tarqiq and I make it tafkhim. So let me grab my table. I don't want to confuse this. Sometimes you confuse things together. The first exception when it will be tafkhim when it's supposed to be tarqiq. And the second time it is tarqiq when it is tafkhim. So tafkhim instead of tarqiq and here tarqiq instead of tafkhim. This part here, I'm just going to talk about it. What makes people hate the ra rules? What makes the ra rules sometimes complicated? But there are not too many. I put it in this way so you can understand it. This part is easy. Anybody can understand. This part is a little bit hard. But I put it by itself so it can be understood easily. If I have a letter ra, then I will pronounce it in an exception way, in a tafkhim way, where it was supposed to be tarqiq. Let's give example. If I have the word inir tabtu, okay? Here. Here, the first rule, I have a ra over here that has a sukoon. So I was supposed to look at the letter before it. It has a sukoon, it has a kasra, or what? The letter before it is the noon with a kasra. So I'm gonna suppose to say inir tabtum because there's a kasra. That is the rule. But between the kasra and the ra with sukoon, I will find hamzat wasl. Whenever you find a situation where it is supposed to be tarqiq, sukoon preceded by kasra, but separated by hamzat wasl, the rule changes. And it becomes the ra with tafkhim. You will pronounce the ra with tafkhim and you say inir tabtum, not inir tabtum, inir tabtum, inir tabtum, and so on. Suppose as other example or other situation is mirsada. Same situation. Ra has sukoon. I look at the letter before it. If it has a kasra, then the ra will be tarqiq. But in this situation, I make it tafkhim. Why? If a ra has a sukoon, and the letter before it has a kasra, but the letter comes after the ra is one of the tafkhim or one of the isti'la letter. We call them khussa dagtin qis, which is a sad here. In this case, the ra is pronounced with tafkhim. Mirsada, inir tabtum, mirsada. So the difference is the ra has a sukoon preceded by a kasra, but the letter comes after that is one of the isti'la letters. So I'm going to have to pronounce the ra with tafkhim. Here, the same situation, the ra has sukoon preceded by a kasra, but separated by hamzat wasla. we're going to pronounce it with tafkhim, not tarqiq. So this is one kind of exceptions. Okay? That is, instead of tarqiq, we make it tafkhim. The second time is I will pronounce it with tarqiq where the rule does not apply for tarqiq, but is an exception. The second example, or second type example is the word khayr. Khayr. The word khayr here, the ra has a sukoon. Ra has a sukoon. The letter before it has a sukoon. I'm supposed to look at the letter before the second one. If it has a kasra, then it is tarqiq, right? But here it is not. It is not a kasra. I am not supposed to make it tarqiq. There is no kasra. It's against the rule. But I am making it tarqiq. I am making it tarqiq instead of tafkhim. Instead of saying khayr, I'm saying khayr. The ra became soft. Why? Here in this rule, when the ra had a sukoon and preceded by the sakiniya. If a ra has sukoon, anytime a ra has a sukoon preceded by a sakiniya or a ya has a sukoon, then the ra is pronounced with tarqiq, even if there is no kasra here. Okay? This is the second type of exceptions. I don't want to tell you any more than this. This is very easy if you got it in this way. This is make your life very easy. So we have the regular rules. Okay? You have here the regular rules. You have a ra, has a fatha or a dhamma. You make what? Tafkhim. I'm going to make it with tafkhim. Okay? A ra has a kasra, tarqiq. Tafkhim and tarqiq. A ra with a sukoon, tafkhim or tarqiq. Make your mind, I don't know. If a ra has a sukoon, I look at the letter before the ra. If it has a kasra, then the ra became tarqiq. If a ra has a sukoon, and the letter before also had a sukoon, I look at the letter before the ra. If it has a kasra, it became also tarqiq. Okay? I want to make sure we didn't forget anything. Okay. And this is how I'm going to read my ras. Okay? If the exceptions here, when I will pronounce the ra with tafkhim instead of tarqiq, and when I will pronounce the ra with tarqiq instead of tafkhim. The rule is very easy. We have a ra with sukoon preceded by a kasra, supposed to be tarqiq. But one situation, it is separated by hamzat wasl, or a second situation, it is the letter comes after the second ra, is one of the isti'la letters. Then in either situation, the ra will be pronounced with tafkhim, with a fat sound. If it is a word that is not under the tarqiq rules, but I pronounce it with tarqiq instead of tafkhim. For example, here you have a ra with sukoon preceded by a ya with sukoon. So I look at the third letter from the ya, from the ra. or second letter from the ra. If it has a kasra, I make tarqiq. But here the kha didn't have a kasra, and still I make tarqiq. Why? Because whenever the ra has sukoon preceded by a ya with a sukoon, then this ra is pronounced with tarqiq or with softness. I would say khayr, khayr. Inirtabtum, fat. Mirsada, because the sad here is fat, and the ra is sakin preceded by kasra, I will follow exception rule. Okay? I hope I made your life easier with this, because this can be confusing to so many people. But whenever you try to simplify things is very hard, try to break it into pieces. Try to make it simple. You have a big bite and it's very chewy, very, very hard. Don't take it all in one time. Try to divide it into small pieces and take it in small bites. This way you can digest it easily and you can understand it. Okay? So this is for today, the rules of the ra and the rules of the lamb in the name of Allah. And take your time, as I said to you before, and only practice and look at the letters when you're reading. Notice the ra. Look for ra. Today's homework is to look for ra and Allah's name in the Quran book, and see if you can notice any of this. And again, make a table for the ra rules like I made here, and try to remember the table or the picture of the table in your head when you're reading. This way, if you got confused, you're not going to forget. Okay, that's all for today, my friends. I will leave you with your sweet journey of the Tajweed. And I say to you, fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.